You are listening to The Coach's Corner with your host, Alex Ramirez, on the Pro 10 Radio Network, a production of Pro 10 Global Sports. Enjoy the show.
Good morning. Hello and welcome to the Coach's Corner presented by Pro 10 Global Sports and Pro 10 International. Today is Friday, May 23rd. I am your host, Alex Ramirez. We want to remind everybody that you can call on the show at 347-637-1197. Also, you can check us out on Twitter at Pro 10 Radio. You can also check the pro10radio.com website for all the podcasts and future show information. We also want to let you know of a campaign that we are supporting. Support the orphans at the Elora Academy in Africa that serve the less fortunate children across the slums in Kisumu City and western Kenya. Please check the pro10radio.com front page and click on the donate button. We have a great guest for you today. My guest today sees the game like no other and is one of the most sought-after clinicians and motivational speakers in the country. He is featured pro on the award-winning instructional tennis videos that frequently air on the Tennis Channel. He is recognized in the tennis profession as the premier teacher for correcting technical flaws and building weapons. He is a 7-time USPTA Coach of the Year and has worked with some of the best players in the world, including Andy Roddick, Mary Pierce, Serena Williams, Venus Williams, Jennifer Capriati, and Maria Sharapova. Rick Macci, thanks for being with us this morning. How are you?
Good. I'm great. Glad to be with you.
Yes, I know you got a super busy day. We definitely thank you for the time to be with us. And Rick, we're going to get started. I want to learn a little bit more about Rick. Before he was Rick Macci, the famous tennis coach, how did you get started in tennis?
That's a good question. I actually have a book out. It's called Macci Magic: Extracting Greatness from Yourself and Others. And I actually describe in the book, I grew up in a small town in Greenville, Ohio, in southwestern Ohio. And I played every sport: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, you name it. And we lived in a park, and there was tennis courts about half mile away. And one day, believe it or not, at around 12 or 13 years old, I just went down there with a racket and I started hitting balls against the backboard, and I just fell in love with it. I'd be out there just hitting balls morning, noon, and night, and it was a game changer. And so what happened is from that, I'd play with a lot of people in town, and I just wanted to be the best I could be, and I was pretty much self-taught and ended up getting really good really fast. And, like most people, you play number one in your high school, and I became one of the better players in Ohio and the Ohio Valley. And then I dabbled a little bit on like the futures type level playing. But at the end of the day, because I was self-taught, even though I was, very athletic and had some good competitive skills and some good feet, I always liked helping others. I was always the organizer. I was always together. I just rather help others and give to others and love to make a difference. And when I started, teaching, even though I didn't know what I was doing back when I first started that much,
right.
I just got hooked on it. And, one thing led to another, and it's been a great ride. And what I really like is I've been consistent ever since I've done this, and I still have as much passion and energy today. And I teach 60 hours a week of privates, and I have as much energy and passion today as I did when I first started.
That is so great to hear that grew inside of you to coach. So staying with the coaching side of it, when did you start coaching? Okay, what year did you start coaching? Was it after the futures, obviously? And did you start coaching mostly groups and privates? And then along the way, you developed your coaching philosophy, I'm going to assume.
Yeah, well, what happened was, it started in Troy, Ohio, which is about 20 miles from Greenville. I got a job at an indoor tennis club, and the director there, he's no longer with us. He was very good friends with Don Budge, Bill Tilden, Ellsworth Vines, Jack Kramer. And I got a job there, and after about a month, and I put this in the book, he said, he thought I had a gift, and I'm going to learn the knowledge as I go on, but, I'm going to be, special someday if I stick with this teaching. And maybe just the way I communicated with people, the way I could analyze things, the energy and the passion that I brought to try to give that to the students. And I taught anybody, anytime, whether it be, ladies' leagues or men's leagues or little kids, or it didn't really matter. I put that in the book too. I like to give you a teacher. It doesn't matter what it is. I like helping others, and as I said, I think I could coach in the NBA or NFL. It just depends. Who's ever on the other side of the net, whether it's the best 10-year-old in the country or an 85-year-old guy, you just like helping them and finding a way. So I started out like everybody else. You just kind of learn, and when you have that feeling and your students can feel it, that's when you can extract more out of them, because it takes two to tango, and everybody needs a mentor. And I think that's always been, the X factor of, or the staple of how I teach.
That is great. And on the website, I was reading about your coaching philosophy, and it really stands out from other places that I've been to and academies and stuff, where they just basically run through the motions. But you have a very specific thing that you guys do. Can you tell the listeners about the philosophy and what you guys do that's different from anywhere else?
Yeah, well, it's totally different. I think, number one, the one thing that's different about, the Rick Macci Academy is, I'm in the trenches. My name's on the door, but I'm available to teach privates to anybody. And like I said, I still teach 60 hours a week. And that's a unique situation, because a lot of times that's not the case. Besides the other, 10, 12 guys that teach in the academy, I'm available to anybody. So I think that, from a service point of view, is huge. But from a biomechanical point of view, I have a relationship with one of my best friends ever, Dr. Brian Gordon. He's a sports science guru, done so much research, and has all this cutting-edge stuff on stroke mechanics. The guy is literally a wizard. And through his research and, the way I analyze things, about, 5 years ago, we teamed up, and he came here, and we used 3D analysis. He has about, $500,000 worth of cameras that we run all this through a computer, so we can get exact measurements of how to do things and what's going wrong, because a lot of times the human eye can't see it. And now, even though someone like myself, who's been in the trenches for so long, you can see a lot, the facts don't lie, and everything we do from a stroke mechanics point of view is backed up by science. And what's interesting is it's really the optimal way to do it, and players in the world, especially on the men's tour, that's exactly what they do. So we're not telling you to do this because Federer does it or Rafa, but you know what? They all have common threads, and they do this. And this is the methodology of how we teach, the two big-ticket items, the forehand and backhand. And if someone can't do it or they don't want to change, we don't force it, but there is a better way to make the racket go faster and make it shorter. And if I'm playing the game of tennis, the one thing we all know that's changed, it's quicker, it's faster. The balls have more spin. There's better athletes. Unless they slow the game down, that's what I'd want to do. I'd want to be taught a stroke that's much shorter, but you can make the racket head go faster. And that's the name of the game, and that's what you see on the men's tour, and that's what we teach. And there's a whole methodology Brian and I put together, and some research, and the way that I can explain this, it's a 1-2 punch that we're just really making cutting edge different pretty much around the world.
That's awesome. As far as teaching goes, I've heard different coaches talk about teaching the way the student learns. Is that something that you employ into the way you coach?
Teaching the way the student learns?
As far as if they're more auditory learners or visual learners?
Well, I think it's good to have your pulse on that, but at the end of the day, I think it's a coach's job to find a way. Winner finds a way, and they got to push the button. They got to dig deep. They got to do whatever they got to do to find a way to get the job done. So, whether it's more of this or more of that or more of this or more of that, it's not one size fits all, and that's what the beauty of coaching is.
Right.
The beauty of coaching is, you've got to treat everybody. You got to treat everybody different. But there are some common threads that you want to have to everybody. So to answer your question, sure, you might have to demonstrate more with this one. You might have to talk less with this one. And that's the art of the deal. That's what separates a good coach from a great coach, because a great coach is going to be able to find a way best, and he's going to be very, very persistent.
Yes. Sticking with that, talk about technique. We get a lot of players at our academy that come in that's taking lessons from a dozen different coaches that come in with different strokes. But sometimes those strokes are working for them. At what point do you look at a player that has a different stroke, maybe not technically sound, but they're very effective with it, and decide the change needs to happen to get to that next level? And how do you approach that?
Well, that's a great question, because, the USTA player development is a couple miles away, and when I go over there, there's obviously the best kids in the country, and a lot of those already have their strokes dialed in, and they might not want to change or tweak. And it's unfortunate, not just with that level, but any level. Some kids don't want to change because it works, and they want the W this weekend, and they want to keep winning tournaments. They don't want to mess up. So on and on and on and on. So this is kind of the dilemma. You might have to take a few steps back, because if you got a funky grip or a crazy backswing or something's not optimal, if you're in the neighborhood, that's okay. But if you're especially, and you see this a lot in the 12s and 14s, you can get away with all this stuff because the speed of the game is slower. I mean, you don't even have to have that bit of footwork, because the balls are high and it's slow. So if you kind of get a curveball, and the parents kind of fall in love that, the kid's winning and all this stuff, and this is all about the future. The last time I checked, it's called junior development. It's not junior final destination, and everybody loses sight of that. And unfortunately, they train the kids not to lose. There's not technical adjustments, and it's unfortunate. And it's a real problem, I think, in this country, because the teaching is so fragmented. A lot of people teach the way they were taught, or they pick up snippets here and there. And, I think to do the correct service to the customer, everybody needs to continue their education, through the USPTA, and to learn as much as you can, because the game's always evolving. It's always changing. But, I just tell them, I said, listen, this is limited. I'm saying to them, I've just almost never been wrong on this one. I see a hole in someone's game at 12, and then when they're 22, I see the same hole. It's just a little smaller because they're bigger, stronger, faster, smarter. But the hole is there. And at the end of the day, if there's a mechanical flaw, you can mask it when you're playing well and the sun is shining and everything's great. But when there's pressure, it always breaks down. Whether it goes short or it makes errors or whatever, it will always break down. So, but then it comes to the question, what is great technique? That's in the eye of the beholder. And that's why the stuff that Brian and I have put together is so cutting edge, and it's really the way the ground strokes should be taught. The problem is you can hit them with big backswings and still pull it off, but when the balls come faster and quicker with a lot more spin, then things get a little slipperier when you get older. And it's like that in any sport. The speed of the game changes as you get older. Tennis, it does, and it affects the strokes. But football, baseball, everybody tells you, every athlete, what's different? The speed of the game. So it takes a while for the mind to adjust. If you got crazy grips and backswings on this until you get older.
Right. And it is, you're right. It's all about, nobody's going to care what you were ranked when you were 12. By the time you get to 18, the college coach is not going to say, well, you were number one in the 12s, what happened, right?
Absolutely. Someone was asking me this yesterday. Yeah, someone was asking me this yesterday, and I just said, listen, I know this is bizarre, but Venus never played a tournament for 3.5 years, and Serena didn't for 5.5. They didn't even play juniors. So if you want to frame it up, is that right or wrong? Well, it worked for them because they're probably the only ones that ever done it. So they don't say Serena won her 16th Grand Slam and she has no gold balls in the juniors. You know, people don't say that. But we're so caught up in the results and ranking, and I understand that, and there's a place for it. But at the end of the day, it's about development. It's about, building a pro game. And like we talked about before we went on air, you know, when you see this 10-year-old Gabriella Price, who I've worked with since she's 4, she plays a pro game, and she's 10 years old. And she's already had success. She's like 1 or 2 in the nation in the 12s, and she's like the little pipsqueak. And when she does everything as advanced as people top 10 in the world on the pro tour. Now, she can't do it because of the physicality part and the height and the reach, but she does everything correctly because the parents bought in, she bought in, she's fearless, and she's building a pro game. And that's what we need to do as coaches, but it's a tough sell to the parent because the kid rather hit off the back foot and not change, or the coach wants to have the kid keep winning so more students come to him. And I've never been like that. I've always looked to the future and to build something.
Absolutely. Coach, can you talk a little bit about, before we go on break here, how much parent educating you do along with working with the student?
Well, I mean, I don't sit down and have seminars with the parents because that would take too long. But when I do give a speech, you know, all the parents video put on their iPhone or whatever, and there's always some messages. There's always some messages in there. And here's what's tough. They'll agree, and they'll listen, and they say you're 100% right. But you know what? The parent's not going to change. They're going to be involved, especially with the girls, because it's always daddy, little girl. You know, parents today, unfortunately, in our society, they're what I call Velcro parents. I mean, they're just stuck right with the kids. You know, when we grew up, it was probably a little different. And, you know, that's not the healthiest. I think they're there to support, figure it out on their own, and that gets mental strength and responsibility, and you get ownership. So, you know, I have a little bit more leverage or credibility because, you know, of what I've done and who I've taught, but I don't want any of the coaches out there to feel bad because they don't listen to me either. So it's okay, you know. It's not. You just listen. You do the best you can, you know. And they don't listen to me, and they're not going to listen to too many people. And the parents are going to be involved. And here's the crazy thing: they're so involved. Tennis is a hard sport to coach for greatness, but just to coach it, aim higher, hit lower, more topspin, toss higher. That's parents can coach it. And the parents not only want to be deep down inside, they want the credit too. And, you know, no one's probably experienced that more than myself with some of the people that I've taught, you know. And so I'm out there educating the parent, but I'm also teaching them the game of tennis to the point where, you know, they feel they can sometimes do it all. But today I've seen many, many situations blow up where the kid loses the passion, he loses the desire. You know, they get 16, they get a boyfriend, girlfriend, driver's license, and, you know, instead of booking tickets at Wimbledon, they're going to be going to college, and that's what should be the plan all along. The plan should be simple. Be the best you can be. Let's see where this ends up. Because, you know, everybody dives in the deep end, think you're going to be number one in the world, and that ain't going to happen.
Right. That is great insight, Coach. We're going to be right back with Rick Macci in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, Thirst, can I try out a few Coke Summer sound effects on you? Cool. You okay with this? And this? And what about this? Gotcha there, Thirst. That wasn't sound effects. That was a Coke. I'm no longer thirsty. You're so out of here. Coca-Cola. Open happiness.
What is this bill for $562? Let me call these people. Thanks for calling Big Tobacco. How can I be of assistance?
Hi, I was going through my mail and saw this bill saying I owe $562 for smoking-related expenses.
That's correct, ma'am.
Yeah, what's the deal with this bill?
You see, smokers miss more work and retire earlier, which costs Nevadans $903 million in lost productivity per year. Also, smokers get sick with diseases like lung cancer and emphysema, costing another $565 million in medical expenses. So, when you add it up and divide by a total number of Nevadans, it comes out to $562 per Nevada household.
Okay, but I don't smoke.
Well, whether you smoke or not, every Nevadan pays the bill.
You know what? I'm not paying this bill.
Actually, you already did. And you'll be making the same payment again next year. Well, thank you for your call.
Hello?
Is smoking worth it? Learn more at smokefreevegas.com. That's smokefreevegas.com. Or for free help quitting smoking, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. That's 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Made possible by funding from the Department of Health and Human Services.
Little Caesars, home of the $5 hot and ready pepperoni pizza, now has a deep, deep dish pizza with 8 crispy caramelized corner slices and even more cheese and pepperoni. So head on down and grab a large for just $8 and tell them Alan Varner sent you. They won't know who that is, but as a voice actor, I'm always trying to get my name out there. Check me out at alandoesvoices.com. That's ALAN doesvoices.com. But first, get the new deep, deep dish pizza. It's hot and ready every day from 4 to 8 p.m. for just $8, only at Little Caesars.
Pizza.
At participating locations plus tax.
To celebrate the not normal Mini Cooper, we hired an expert to tell you about Mini telepathically.
Greetings. Relax and listen to my mind. The Mini Cooper hardtop comes with 37 mpg and go-kart handling.
Wait, that's not telepathy.
Listen again. The bigger four-door Mini Countryman has seating for 5.
Okay, you're just whispering.
You're still paying me for this.
Come see the 37 mpg Mini Cooper hardtop and the bigger Mini Countryman today. Visit miniusa.com/info for MPG details.
Hi, this is Jeff Salzenstein.
Hi, this is Kendall Hart.
Hi, this is Dick Gould.
Hi, this is John Embry, and you're listening to the Coach's Corner on Pro 10 Radio Network. Catch me live on Wednesday, May 28th at 1 o'clock Pacific.
We are back with Coach Rick Macci. Coach, thank you for being with us this morning. And we were talking about coaching juniors. Now, you've worked with a lot with the best in the game. Can you share some of the challenges that comes with coaching at that level?
Well, a lot of kids that I've had, I had them when they're, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. And like I said, it's all about the future, but because there might be a little bit more athletic ability, or there might be a little bit more height, or there might be a little bit more potential, not just from the media per se, so the expectations are going to be greater just because it's just they've already got some publicity, or it might be one of the better kids in the country. But at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You want to be the best you can be, and I look at everything as a challenge. It doesn't really matter what the level is. So there's no extra pressure or anything like that. It's just that because they have this gift, maybe you can mold a pro game and teach them more high-level stuff and do adult-like things, even though they're a kid. But the tough part is more the parents because, they're already seeing pro tennis. And like I said, they're probably booking tickets for Wimbledon and the kid's only 10 years old. So
exactly,
there's an art to this. You got to be able to communicate, and dealing with the parents is a major league effort because no one has a lot of patience and they want things to happen quickly. But like I said, this is, junior development. It's not junior final destination. So it's a long-term process, and I try to echo that philosophy of building a game and making pro moves. And when you have someone really, really talented, obviously it might be a little easier for them to do it a little sooner.
Absolutely. I work a lot with Todd Ellenbecker and taking players that come in to train. And how much do you focus on injury prevention in your development, making sure they have the right proper technique so they don't get injured when they're hitting the ball so hard?
We have a whole fitness program here with a company called ESP, and they handle all that. And but a lot of the kids also have their own trainer, depending on the level of the kid. So that's important. There's no doubt about it. Just because the game's more violent and you're moving quicker and faster, and there's a lot more racket speed and a lot more cuz. Not so much where you could get hurt now. What I see is these things don't come back to bite you until you're older. You know, if you're making wrong moves or whatever, or you're overdeveloping one side of the body. So I think it's critical to balance yourself. Just like in the game of life, you need the balance. But a lot of players who are right-handed, they should be doing a lot more stuff, you know, with the left side of their body and vice versa. And so yeah, we do a lot, but I kind of let the fitness people handle that. But when I see certain things, I definitely will chime in and, you know, kind of get that on track.
Absolutely. Yes. Back to more the coaching aspect, is there a point in a player's development that you try and let them figure out what they're doing on their own? Because they've learned it so many times. You can only tell them so many times, you know, do a certain thing, follow through. Do you let them figure it out? I see a lot of coaches trying to hold the player's hand for a long, long, long time. Then when they get to a match or a tournament or situation, they can't figure it out on their own. At what point do you introduce that and say, you got to just start figuring these things out?
The sooner the better, because tennis is a different game. You know, it's a different animal. You're out there by yourself. People don't understand. And like I said about the Velcro parent who's right there, you can't be the Velcro coach either. You can't overcook it extra crispy. You want the kids to take ownership. You want them to have strength. You want to listen. I know when they're younger, you gotta guide them, lead them, explain it. But you don't want to create a robot, or you don't want to create someone who can't think on their own. But you know, I have a way always, now that you've asked it, where I can always make it or sound like it's their decision anyway. And I think that's the art of coaching. You know, when they do something off the top, over the chart, you know, you want to make a big deal about it, you know, so they learn quicker and they like that. Or right. If they do something wrong, you know, you want to make a big deal about that. So I think it's all how you tee it up as a coach, how you lay it out, how you present it. But no, they got to figure it out. Mom can't help her dad, you know, these parents barking through the fence. It's silly. And stronger mentally when you got to do it on your own. And but people want to help, people care and all that. I get all that. But you don't want to create a marshmallow either. You need at the end of the day, I think the greatest gift a coach can do, forget the biomechanics or the strategy. If you can make someone the best competitor they can be, you've done your job. I mean, if you can do that, because if you are the best competitor you can be, you're going to handle pressure. I don't care how you hit the ball. Sure, there's probably a better way, and you might have to have better strategy too, but let's just talk. That should be the main job of the coach, to make them the best competitor they can be, because when you're that competitive, you handle pressure better. And no one was a better example than Andy Roddick. Even at a young age, the guy was just a feisty little mosquito that even if he got mad, he got more determined. And just so much respect for Andy as a role model, as a competitor. And that came loud and clear on the Pro Tour. You know, maybe he didn't have the talent of a Sampras or an Agassi, but he did the best he could. Very few bad losses, always showed up. Just an amazing competitor. And I just feel he never got enough credit because, let's face it, great serve, good forehand, and the rest, he was just one of the guys. And he had an amazing career where some people might think, hey, he didn't do that well. I think he did awesome, but he's a perfect example. He was always about the competition. He had a thirst for competition. Even his brother John was that way off the charts. And that's what I loved about him. And to me, that's the X factor that a coach can give any player, is to get them to compete better. And whatever cards they've been dealt, you got to deal with those.
Yes. Very good, very good. We have a question here that came through on Twitter from Ryan Tennis TX. I'm going to guess he's from Texas. And he asks, the one-handed versus the two-handed backhand, if a player is in limbo, how do you help him make that decision?
Well, you know, obviously I'd have to see it. What I do is I like to see what they do natural. Because some people swing the racket maybe more natural one hand, or some swing the racket more natural two hands. So I would use that as a starting point. You know, I would just kind of look at it, what feels more natural, so I kind of know where I'm going to, you know, start this whole process from. And then I would just, you know, feed them some balls and just kind of, you know, figure it out. The thing about the one-hander, and, you know, obviously you're going to end up chipping better, and you might get more feel on your backhand volley. But at the end of the day, a two-handed backhand, there's more benefits on the return. There's more benefits on the short ball. High from Nadal to Djokovic, he has a little different response than Federer. So, that's why Federer is a tough matchup for Nadal. He keeps pumping that lefty forehand up there, on the third floor 8 times in a row. The one-handed backhand, after time, it gets tough. So, would I teach someone one hand? Absolutely. But it depends on how natural it looked and then how natural the two-hander looked. But there are more benefits, especially in today's game, in my opinion, of a two-handed backhand.
Very good. There you go, Ryan. Thanks for that question. I read on your website you have Macisms. Is that how you say it? Macisms? Can you share with us some of your favorite Macisms?
Macism. Yeah, Macism.
Macisms.
Yeah.
Can you share with us some of your favorite ones?
Well, they're always evolving in my head. This is it's in the book. It's in the book that I wrote, and it's on the website, and the kids print them out, and they're just motivational pops, or they're just things that I kind of say all the time on the court, or just kind of a staple of how I teach and what I believe. And the kids, you say things, and as time goes on, this stuff sticks with people, especially if there's a catchiness to it or a rhyme. And I know the impact that it's had on a lot of people who have won a lot of Grand Slams, even though they might not say how this influenced them. I've had many people, doctor, lawyers, whatever, how it really made them work harder, or it changed the way they look at things and how they tee it up in their mind psychologically. And so when the kids read these signs, and I made a difference with someone's life. And my favorite one, or whatever, I really don't have a favorite one. My favorite one will probably be whatever comes in my head tomorrow. But I like to tell people, if you make excuses, you're getting better at making excuses, and that's if you're lazy, you're getting better at being lazy. So you're training yourself that way, and but I have thousands of these, and I just try to communicate it with the student or the parent, tee it up in a way where it's crystal clear, very common sense. If you get mad, you get better at being mad. And some people are good at that. And you got to flip these things in your mind. There's a chapter actually in the book called Flip It. People say, how can I go out there and teach 10 hours a day in the 95-degree sun? The first thing you got to do is flip it in your mind and make the sun your best friend. And you like it when it's hot, because if you think it's hot, trust me, it got a lot hotter.
Right.
the mind stuff. But the attitude controls everything. And, let's face it. Everybody likes Friday better than Monday. I don't know where that started from, but if you ask people, I'm sure it is. And I'd rather have them look at it the other way. And it's all how you look at certain things and how you digest it. But it's all about the attitude. And if I can get the attitude, because let's face it, in life and in sports, people that are the most successful are the most positive. And that never has changed, and it never will change. Because
absolutely,
and when you play the game of tennis, there's a lot of problems, there's a lot of issues, you deal with a lot, and if you can flip the negative, the double fault, the mistake, whatever it is, and turn it into a positive and stay in the moment, then you're going to be mentally strong. So what I try to do in the go of this is, a lot of parents said, hey, you helped my kid do better in school, or he came off medication, whatever that is, or he now cleans his bedroom. It has nothing to do with tennis. And that kind of makes me feel better than someone who wins a national title, or people that have went on to win Grand Slams, because, a good coach improves your tennis game, but a great coach improves your life.
That's going to be my favorite one right there. I'm going to use that today. That is a great one, Rick.
I would say that came into my head, but I've used that one for a long time, and that's, they're all up there. But you know what? It depends who is on the other side of the net, and that's one of the things that people say. It's just the way explained, and And that's what teaching and coaching is, extracting greatness out of the other person. And hopefully that's been the staple of what I've tried to do.
That is great. Talking about the little girl, Gabriella, you said, and just going back to you got to see Venus and Serena at a very young age. Can you talk a little bit about what you saw, and did you know immediately these girls had something very special in them?
Yeah, well, the Williams story, obviously it's well documented. I think people in tennis know kind of what I did and how I kind of bankrolled that whole situation. But, yeah, Richard wanted to meet me. I went out to California, never done that one before, especially to Compton. And this is when Venus was 10, Serena was 9, and met with Richard and, met with Orsine and the girls. And at the same time, I was coaching, Capriati, who was one of the juniors, obviously, in the world, and Tommy Ho, who was one of the best. So, and a lot of kids winning nationals just like, every other day. So I had a good base, or I had a good reference point of what good was or great was and what great mechanics were. Because if you remember Jennifer, she had balance like no other and had, very good strokes at Jimmy Everett, the great Jimmy Everett, and her dad Stefano helped lock in. So I go out to Compton, and that day, the first day that, we go practice, Richard picks me up in a beat-up Volkswagen Beetle, and I get in the car, and there's like 3 months worth of McDonald's wrappers and Burger King and old balls and clothes, and it was the funniest thing ever. And there was a spring sticking out of the passenger side that I almost got harpooned, and it was I'm going, wow, this is a little different than Greenleaf Resort, where I was the director back at that time, right, in the late 80s, because it was like one of the top 25 resorts in the country, and here I am in California. It was just like a whole different thing. But I was curious because there was this publicity on Venus that this kid was really good and da-da-da, da-da-da. So we go to the courts, and there was like 25, 30 guys playing basketball. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. Guys were passed out in the grass. People were shooting baskets, glass all over the place. And they get out of the car, and everybody knew who Richard was. And they knew who the girls were. It was kind of really an interesting dynamic. So we go on the court, and I start feeding some balls, and I'm kind of get through the story here quick, and I'm sitting there going, I can't believe I even made the trip, because all I'm seeing is arms and legs and hair and beads flying everywhere, funky swings, balance out of control. I don't want to say it was a train wreck, but they were just decent juniors. That's it, tall and long. It's kind of interesting how she ran, and I told her dad she should go up her track. I just noticed she had her stride. And then I said, let's do something competitive. And so we started playing points, because before I was working with them on technique. We started playing points, and this is a great advice for any parent or any coach. You can't judge a book by its cover, because once we started playing points, I saw the preparation get a little better. I saw the footwork get more dialed in. I saw the focus get much better. And I thought, wow, these kids could be pretty good. They're probably maybe around their age, especially Venus. Serena wasn't. But they're one of many. But it didn't blow me away. And then Venus said to ask Richard, can I go to the bathroom? So she walks out the gate, and for like 10 feet, she walked on her hands. And then she went into these backward cartwheels. And I'm going, what the heck is this all about? So I saw some athleticism. I saw this athleticism. I'm going, this is interesting. Because I had Jennifer, and she's rock solid on the ground like a stick of dynamite. And then you got this girl like Olive Oil who's like Gumby, and there's all this movement going on. And I go to Richard. I said, let me tell you something. I think you got the next female Michael Jordan on your hands. And he put his arm around me and said, no, Rick, true story. Okay?
And he was right.
He definitely was right. But when I knew they were going to be close to 6 feet tall and how much power they would have, even though their strokes were a mess and there was just so much reconstructive surgery that needed to be done, the fact that they were going to be big, strong, and fast. Women's tennis back in the 90s never saw that. If you were kind of big, you were clumsy. Or if you were big, you couldn't move, per se.
Right.
I mean, here you got someone who's big, strong, and fast. So you got the triple threat of that. And if they could just get, ground strokes, I knew they were going to have great serves. But I liked the fact the way they competed, the way they ran. To me, that was in the pocket, and that was only going to evolve as they got older and became, teenagers and young women. So that's not going to change. That's just going to get faster. So that's your calling card. Then you get some unique open stances and some decent strokes, even though there's a lot of interference on that from Richard. At the end of the day,
yes,
they are where they're at because of how they are inside. They competed, the way they compete and run, I saw it at a young age. That's why I dove in the deep end and did the contract with them. And I think everybody knows how that whole story ended up. But I knew right away. And when people would tell me or ask me, I said, yeah, they'll be 1 and 2 in the world. And here these kids are, 10 and 11. And, I said they're going to be better than Jennifer. I could just see where this is going to happen. And that's kind of what I feel about this Gabriella Price, who's 10 years old. That's the kid's just amazing.
That is great. Thank you so much for sharing. We're up on a break. Coming up, the last segment with Coach Rick Macci. Back in 1 second. Don't go anywhere.
Then the drop is going to go into the hit. Okay, good technique. The Rick Macci Tennis Academy is located at beautiful Boca Lago Country Club in Boca Raton, Florida. Call today for more information.
Hey, Thirst, can I try out a few Coke Summer sound effects on you? Cool. You okay with this? And this? And what about this? Gotcha there, Thirst. That wasn't sound effects. That was a Coke. I'm no longer thirsty. You're so out of here. Coca-Cola. Open happiness.
Little Caesars, home of the $5 hot and ready pepperoni pizza, now has a deep, deep dish pizza with 8 crispy caramelized corner slices and even more cheese and pepperoni. So head on down and grab a large for just $8 and tell them Alan Varner sent you. They won't know who that is, but as a voice actor, I'm always trying to get my name out there. Check me out at alandoesvoices.com. That's ALAN doesvoices.com. But first, get the new deep, deep dish pizza. It's hot and ready every day from 4 to 8 p.m. for just $8, only at Little Caesars.
Pizza.
At participating locations plus tax.
To celebrate the not normal Mini Cooper, we hired an expert to tell you about Mini telepathically.
Greetings. Relax and listen to my mind. The Mini Cooper hardtop comes with 37 mpg and go-kart handling.
Wait, that's not telepathy.
Listen again. The bigger 4-door Mini Countryman has seating for 5.
Okay, you're just whispering.
You're still paying me for this.
Come see the 37 mpg Mini Cooper hardtop and the bigger Mini Countryman today. Visit miniusa.com/info for MPG details.
Hi, this is John Embry, and you're listening to the Pro 10 Radio Network. Catch me live on Wednesday, May 28th at 1 o'clock Pacific.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Coach's Corner presented by Pro 10 Global Sports and Pro 10 International. We're talking with world-renowned coach Rick Macci. Rick, we're talking about the Williams sisters and that whole story. From a fan's perspective and from a coaching perspective, how do you see tennis now as it has evolved?
How do I see tennis, how it's evolved?
Yeah, all these changes that are happening, and obviously a lot more coming up as the game just progresses.
Yeah, well, obviously the biggest change is it's now more a movement sport, especially on the guy side. If you can't fly, unless you've got just a massive serve like an Isner, who's obviously tall, and it changes the whole thing. The serve. I mean, let's look at it. You can have Isner. If there's a tail to tape, Isner playing Federer. I think Federer, if there's 20 things, Federer's probably better in 19. And there's one thing that is a game changer, and that's his serve. So he could clip Fed, 6-4 in the third just because of the serve. So I think the rackets, the string, the speed of the game, the power, unless it's become more of a movement game, you're more in a state of emergency, you're in a state of flux. The ability to improvise and hit off either foot and to be able to create things when you're in trouble calls on athleticism. And it's getting that way a little bit more with the women. And I think the Williams sisters kind of brought that to the game and have always been a little different. And they brought other people in with a lot of the things that they do, some of that uniqueness. But it's even more so. And, I still believe there's a place for the volley. I'm just shocked that, these girls, when they get people off the court, they don't come in. I'm kind of shocked that they don't just jack a second serve and come to the net behind it and just scare the heck out of people. I don't know. I think it's all in the training because, you can try not to lose and still win. You can try not to lose and have some success. And that's why I'm really excited about the way this Gabriella Price plays. There's just no fear. It's the toughest sell to any parent. It's toughest to sell, trigger, miss, and step back up there and do it again. And that's the toughest thing. But the game it's so much about movement, and that's why people miss forehands and backhands. They miss it as you get older because of the movement. Now, if there's a big technical flaw that's never been changed, then obviously it's going to come out more, under pressure. It always does. But it's all about movement. It's not, running from here to California. It's stop, start, up, right, back, in, out, change of direction. It's the agility. And, it's a more athletic game for 100%. It's just such an athletic game. And I think some of the other countries get, the top athletes. I mean, I would have loved to taught LeBron James at 10 years old, teach him amazing mechanics. And you don't think someone, 6'8", 250 could serve the ball 160 miles an hour and the way that guy could run? I mean, how good. And these are the type athletes other countries have playing tennis because they either play soccer or it seems like they go to tennis. Where in this country, there's just a whole different menu where people can, do other sports. And, that's where it's a little tough for American tennis. We don't get the best athletes, but we could be doing better, and we will do better, and it's everybody's responsibility. But it's an athletic game. But if you can't move, you better be really good in all the other areas.
Absolutely. Yes, and going with that, what advice would you have for up-and-coming juniors, for their parents, whether some of them are looking to, they're on the fence whether they want to go pro or go to college, and they're just right there riding that fine line. What advice would you have for them?
Well, I think it's always good to shoot for the mountaintop, swing for the fences, go for the Hail Mary. But this should be about being the best you can be. College should be the main priority. And, when the time comes, 16, 17, 18, whatever, you make that decision, because you don't know. No one has a crystal ball, not me or anybody else. You don't know what's in someone's head. It's a long-term process. Kids mature later. You can't, fall in love because the kid's number one in the nation in the 12s or 14s. I mean, that means zero, as in zero, okay? I've seen this thing change in the blink of an eye in 6 months. Someone grows 2 inches, gains 10 pounds. They can beat the kid they just lost to. But at the end of the day, it's tough. When you say go pro, I mean, it's easy to go pro, but, if you're 600 in the world, you might be better off when you're working at McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
I mean, you're paying for your expenses and the money's at the top. That's why I like the kids to volley, because you can make an amazing career out of just being a great doubles player or having good volleys. But that's a neglected art too. The kids don't do anything in transition. Doubles is neglected. And let's face it, I mean, you can make a great living if you're a great doubles player. So to be well-rounded, learn all the strokes, definitely shoot for college. And if you want to nibble a little bit, during the summer, play some futures or play some, women's things. And, if you want to do it before you have to get a real job, do it. But, that's an individual decision, and that's a parental decision. And, the kid's decision and a financial decision. I mean, it's not cheap to travel around the world. So I think you be the best you can be. You shoot for that great college scholarship, keep your grades up, and then if you want to, try pro tennis, that's good. But I think that should be the goal, to try to copy, how Federer does things, or Nadal, or some of these top players, how they act on the court and how they handle pressure, and use that to help develop your game. But you definitely want to, if you're on the fence, you should probably go to college, because you're either in or out. If you're on the fence, that means you're not in either way, and I would go the way where at least you could start your education.
Absolutely. Great advice. We're coming up here to the end of the show, Coach, and a couple of final questions. We got the French Open coming up. Can we get some predictions from you on the men's and women's side?
Yeah, I'm kind of one that always predicts a lot of things. I mean, I think if anybody goes against Serena, okay, I mean, how can you not? But I'll say this. She's more vulnerable. There's more pressure on her, and the courts are slower, and so anything can happen with Serena, but she is vulnerable. There's no doubt about it, just because she has to hit more balls, and, you never know when you got to hit balls. You get nervous. If she gets nervous like anybody else, trust me on that. But I think you got to go with her. I know Rafa's owned the whole thing, but I'll take Djokovic, and my sleeper is Nishikori. If he's not injured, when I saw him play Nadal last time, I've never seen anybody dictate and control the center of the court and jerk Nadal around the red clay court in my life. That kid's the real deal, and I think he's capable of winning a Grand Slam. I'm not saying this one, but I think that guy has that potential.
There he is. He's definitely been impressive. And if looking at Murray, what do you think he's missing as far as a coach? Why can't he just nail down a coach and settle in and be able to go forward with that? What do you think he needs?
Well, Murray's never been that good on clay, so I don't look at. You got to understand, it's sometimes the luck of the draw. How this thing opens up. I don't think it's about coaching at this level for these guys. I mean, for the longest time, Federer had no coach, and he was one in the world. So I think that's overrated, coaching at the top level with these guys. It's more like you're more a manager, and you might be able to talk a little bit, motivational things or strategic, but you ain't gonna tweak anything technically. So I think the coach, a different voice that might give you a little more juice or something. But Murray's capable. I just don't think he can do this at the French Open. Obviously, his game's more suited towards grass or a hard court. And with him, it's all mental. I think when his belief is high, and that only has to be 5% more, he can beat anybody. But he's a little more fragile, I always thought, day in and day out, than the other three. That's what I've always thought, and it's kind of panned out that way too. But don't listen. The guy's great, but if he believes, he could beat anybody. There's no doubt.
Absolutely. Coach Rick, we thank you so much for taking the time out of your 60-hour-a-week schedule for being with us and sharing us some good information. Anything else you want to share with the listeners before we sign off?
No, tennis is it's a great sport. It teaches a lot of people the game of life, and I think you always got to remember that. And you're a role model, and people look up to you, and you can have a tremendous influence on other people's lives. And I think when you go on the court, you should always remember that, because it's easy to get caught up into the grind and so on and so forth. But if you can go into it looking like that, you'll feel better about yourself, and so will your students.
Fantastic. Again, thank you so much. Much success to you and the Academy. And give us the name of the book again that you wrote.
Yeah, it's called Macci Macci, Extracting Greatness from Yourself and Others. It's on Amazon. It's doing amazing. People wanted me to write a book for like 20 years, and it's all positive. It's a lot of self-help. It's kind of how I'm wired, and teaching philosophy. And I think anybody in any sport, can learn something from it, and it was fun to put it together and kind of wrap around my career around the book.
That is great. We'll definitely put a link for the book on our website. Rick, thank you so much for being with us. Have a great weekend and a great rest of the year.
All right. Thanks so much for having me. Good luck.
Take care. Bye. That has been another edition of the Coach's Corner on the Pro 10 Radio Network. For Rick Macci, this is Alex Ramirez signing off. Have a great day, and God bless.
That's all, folks.